Good morning, televiewers of my Media Prime Television. You're on to your favorite bilingual program, The Brief, which is always dedicated to the review of striking headlines in the papers. On today's edition of the program, the newspapers are still focusing on the steering committee meeting of the presidential plan for the reconstruction and development of the Northwest and Southwest regions. A meeting was held at the Prime Minister's office on Friday to examine how far the plan has gone 18 months after the full implementation or its full implementation. We shall be telling you more as relayed by newspapers and also reports that was done for us by my Media Prime's news room, talking about the meeting and the revelation of what actually is happening in the Northwest and Southwest regions as so many facilities have been rebuilt and some donors still hesitating to honor their words when it comes to pledging monies for the reconstruction. And this time around, some newspapers are focusing on the 40 billion francs CFA France promised Cameroon, promised to support Cameroon for the rebuilding of the Northwest and Southwest regions of the country. Fuel scarcity in the country, government finally arrests the situation as more monies have been pumped into the sector to subsidize the sector, as we shall be telling you more. And yesterday in the nation's economic capital, motorists began going about their daily activities unperturbed after the scarcity or fuel scarcity hit the city. We shall tell you more in this edition of the program. And today we will be having Dr. Nicolas Santos, who is joining us on the line to the United States of America to talk about discuss some of these burning issues, as well as his award. He has been honored by the government of the United States of America. Stay with us. Let's find out what Gwladys Bomotonguina gather for us in the French language newspapers. Bonjour Gwladys.
Bonjour Lasha. Bonjour à vos fidèles téléspectateurs de My Media Prime Télévision et bienvenue à cette autre édition de votre émission bilingue de revue de presse. Alors ce matin, nous allons débuter avec le journal Émergence quotidien. Le journal Émergence quotidien nous parle à sa grand titre de finances. Le MINFI qui impose donc aux banques et aux microfinances la gratuité de 22 services. La liste de ces 22 services sont donc dans cette édition de Émergence quotidien à sa page 3. Dans le même journal, à sa page 7, le journal nous parle de la filière le cacao-café. Résultat mitigé après 39 milliards de francs CFA injectés dans cette filière. Litige, le coq sportif menace donc la FECAFOOT de poursuites judiciaires. Les détails sont en page 9 d'Émergence quotidien ce matin. Nous poursuivons, mesdames, messieurs, avec le journal Le Jour. Le journal Le Jour nous parle en grand titre de gasoil, la pénurie qui inquiète donc les populations. Pourquoi? Les transporteurs doutent donc des assurances du ministère de l'Eau et de l'Énergie. Les détails sont en page 2 et 3 du journal Le Jour ce matin. À sa page 5, le journal nous parle de la ville de Yokadouma, 5 morts dans un incendie. Simalène, l'aéroport reçoit donc la certification de classe A. Les détails sont en page 6 du journal Le Jour ce matin. Nous poursuivons, mesdames, messieurs, avec l'info à chaud. L'info à chaud nous parle en grand titre de la rupture abusive du contrat par la FECAFOOT, le coq sportif, qui veut donc saisir la justice. Les détails sont en page 3 du journal Info à chaud ce matin. En page 6, le journal nous parle de la Madjeni. L'assainissement des ressources humaines est donc en chantier. Nous clôturons, mesdames, messieurs, ce matin avec le journal Mutation quotidien. Le journal Mutation quotidien nous parle en grand titre de Mokolo, peur sur le marché. En 10 jours d'intervalle, 2 explosions de bombes artisanales font des blessés dans cet espace marchande de Yaoundé. Les détails sont donc en page 5 de Mutation quotidien ce matin. À sa page 7, le journal nous parle de la valeur de l'euro qui est en baisse, le franc CFA qui est donc face à la chute. En page 8, le journal nous parle de crise sécuritaire, le chemin de la Croix-Rouge. Mesdames, Messieurs, c'est ici que nous arrêtons pour ces titres en langue française. Place à la découverte des titres en langue anglaise avec toi, Lasha.
Thank you, Gwladys Bomotonguina. Let's kick start this morning with the National Bilingual Daily Cameroon Tribune. Cameroon Tribune this morning is interested in the decision of the government to arrest the situation of fuel or hydrocarbons in the country. Fuel scarcity, which hit major cities in the country, is now a thing of the past, as the measures taken by government is already yielding fruits. We are told by the National Bilingual Daily Cameroon Tribune that in Douala, the economic capital of the country, gasoil is progressively being found at filling stations. As we are told, motorists and car owners are going about their daily activities unperturbed, according to the paper. And Elecam, 2 electoral board members appointed. As yesterday, the President of the Republic of the country appointed 2 new members while maintaining the mandates of other members of the elections or Cameroon or electoral board of the country elections Cameroon. And in Cameroon Tribune this morning, we are telling you about, or the paper is telling us about, Yaoundé-Simalène International Airport that gets a Class A certification. The certificate reflecting the conformity to international standards of the equipment and the services offered by the international airport were presented yesterday, July 12, 2022, and in Yaoundé, in the presence of the Minister of Transport of the country. The certification is expected to attract more foreign airline companies to augment the volumes of traffic of the airport in the country. More details on page 7 of this edition of the National Bilingual Daily Cameroon Tribune. And we're taking you to L'Action newspaper to talk about monies that have been pumped into the agricultural sector in a bid to meet up with local demands. We are talking about wheat in the country, wheat production and other cereals in the country. The President of the Republic has ordered the disbursement of 10 billion francs CFA subvention to that sector in a bid to arrest the crisis that the country is facing when it comes to wheat and its products. This more in this edition of L'Action newspaper. And the reconstruction of the Northwest and Southwest region gaining much ground, writes L'Action newspaper. A meeting to that effect was held at the Prime Minister's office. That was on Friday to evaluate how far the plan has been covered, or roadmap of the plan 18 months after its implementation. Let's leave L'Action newspaper. We are with the Guardian Post. The Guardian Post newspaper is also focusing on the reconstruction plan for the Northwest and Southwest regions. This time around, the paper is worried about the money that was pledged by France. And France, according to the paper, disappears after pledging 40 billion francs CFA to support Cameroon. And France, according to the paper, reportedly gone mute after pledging the colossal sum of 40 billion francs CFA for the construction or the country's presidential plan for the reconstruction of the Northwest and Southwest regions. And the non-respect of France's gentleman promise made in October 2019 came to the fore last Friday during the 4th session of the steering committee of the presidential plan, which seeks to reconstruct the war-ravaged regions of the country. Paul Tasson stated clearly during the meeting that France is still yet to give the 40 billion she promised the country. That was in October 2019. And the government announces measures to address fuel scarcity in the country. The measures were announced recently through the Minister of Water and Energy Resources, Gaston Elundu Esomba, who made it public in a release that was issued Monday, July 11, 2022. We stay with the Guardian Post newspaper to talk about a pregnant woman who has lost her life alongside her 3 children in Yukadoma in the east region of the country. The sad incident happened recently where the woman perished in a fire accident alongside 3 of her children, as the paper tells us. Let's talk about this other sad story in Douala, where a worker has vamoosed with over 70 million francs CFA money meant for his boss And after doing that, he set the boss's shop at Blaze as the paper tells us, while vamoosing with the sum of 70 million francs CFA. You can read more in this edition of the Guardian Post newspaper. We end with municipal updates. Municipal updates newspaper this morning is focusing on the measures taken by government to arrest scarcity of fuel in the country. Government arrests fuel scarcity crisis, writes municipal updates newspaper. You can read more in this edition of municipal updates newspaper, talking about the measures of government that is already yielding fruit when it comes to arresting the scarcity of fuel across the national territory. We are back, televiewers of My Media Prime Television, to continue talking the burning issues as raised by newspapers this morning, Gwladys. And we are joined by Dr. Nicolas Santos from the United States of America. Doctor, good morning and welcome. It's been long.
Yeah, good morning, Mr. Lasha Kingsley. Good morning, Gwladys. It's a pleasure to be on the My Media Prime, and I hope you guys have been doing well.
Okay, Doctor, before we come to what is of prime importance to you this morning, let's begin with the burning issues that we have in the country. We are talking about fuel scarcity. Government has announced measures to arrest the situation, and we are already reading in other newspapers that car owners are smiling in Douala and Yaoundé after the government's measure.
Yeah, I think it's not only a Cameroonian problem, it's a world problem. We're getting gas prices in the United States now for twice the price, or close to 3 times the price. A liter is close to about $5, of which a liter used to be $1.75 to $2. And I believe that is because of us coming from a pandemic, which is coronavirus, that we were locked down for about 2 years at home, then most especially with the second world crisis, which is the Ukraine war, the war between Russia and Ukraine, and the fact that the European Union and other stakeholders of NATO are not able to reach an agreement on breaking the impasse over this war. So I think it's a world crisis, a world fuel crisis. There's no only crisis in fuel. There's crisis in sugar, there's crisis in flour, there's crisis in many other areas of production that Russia was one of the key. So let's not just consider it a Cameroonian problem. It is a world problem. Thank you.
Yes, Doctor, we are equally reading in the papers that dollars has risen comparatively to euros, and that has also affected the franc CFA. And some newspapers are even talking about devaluation. Is that the reason why we are facing what we're facing in Cameroon these days?
Yeah, so to speak, you see, the world powers, or they call them today the Big Five, or the Big Six, or whatsoever, or G7 or G8, they know what they are doing. Because if I look at this war, the war in Russia, just like the pandemic, it's one of the strategies that these world powers used to penetrate the entire globe, or change the entire interpretation of world economic and political politics. So you see that it's impacting us because of some concepts that come out. Because war is a concept. War is a concept. I don't see anything that cannot be talked over by resolution and dialogue that will lead to this kind of ramifications worldwide. You know, I mean, I always look at it like people, the big guns or the big fishes playing business with our lives. Because if something can be resolved that it will not lead to hike in currency, affect the world exchange market, affect the price of flour, sugar, and everything, you know? Now, I mean, you will not also you to even hear some girls are telling you that the price of things have gone up as well because of the Ukraine war and Russian war. so it's not only dollar price. Maybe they will say, local language, the price of don't go up because of war, right?
Doctor, what are we doing with our local solutions? Is it not time for us to try to live like an island, probably looking at our local solution, which can be produced in Cameroon and other Syrias, and the government just pumped 10 billion into Iraq for research and production of these cereals to meet up with local demand.
This comes back to what I have been preaching from the get-go. You see, the diaspora is always a very, very important backbone to the economy of every country in the world. And what citizens of every country do is that when they go abroad, you cannot effect the change by yourself. It takes a whole nation of youths, for example, to rebuild a nation. It takes some of us who have been out to adventure into fields of study which can be beneficial to our people. For example, I'm in the domain of mental health and psychiatry. What I did here when I did my studies was going back to Nigeria, trying to integrate some of our local treatments into mental health alongside the white man's psychotherapy. And that's a holistic method of treatment that even today, if we don't have the white man's supply of medication, we can develop our local herbs and develop all those spiritual healing and still cure our unmanned people. And that's what I defended my doctorate thesis on. So if some people go out, they learn how to use local wheat and corn to refine our own bread, then we will not depend on importation of flour from grain. Then we will not face the shortage. If our own fuel is being recycled in our own country and consumed back at home, rather than sending it into France, for France to reproduce it and send it back to us, then this is where we're in problems. Take, for example, Rwanda. Kagame has already set up a satellite in Rwanda, and he's developing Rwanda. Rwandans can, in the next 10 to 15 years, survive on their own without dependence from the external world. So it is time that we develop our youths, learn to develop something, bring it back to the country, refine it, work on it, spread the knowledge, develop it so that when time to come, we will not depend on economies. If we had, for example, we are talking about the CFA francs, which is going up. Cameroon does not even have a central bank that uses its own currency. So this is the problem. We cannot continue to live on the dictates of the outside community, Mr. Lasha. It's painful.
Okay, Doctor, let's talk about what you have always been very bitter about. We are talking about the war in the northwest and southwest regions. The regions have almost been destroyed by those who say they want their country. And on Friday, a plan that was put in place by President Paul Biya, they met, led by Paul Tasson, to examine how far they have gone with the reconstruction or rebuilding of those regions of the country. And some partners who pledged to support Cameroon are still hesitating to give the money. We are talking about France, which pledged 40 billion, and up to now that we are speaking, the money is still nowhere to be found.
I just said something in addressing the last question about France, and there you were again, France. You know, we are depending on some people to rebuild a war in our region. Is that not a mockery? That's funny, because it takes us, we, the Cameroonians, we can rebuild. It's simple to rebuild. You know, it's simple to rebuild because, you know, this is caused by a war which is an ideological warfare. It's a war between business partners. We have been in a war caused by business partners. I mean, if you want to see the war in the northwest and the southwest, you want to study in depth, you will discover that it's an organized war. Because the people who are profiting from the war don't want the war to stop. You talk about a reconstruction plan. Yes, let's be factual and let's be categorical. How can you reconstruct in the midst of an ongoing war? That's terrible.
Okay.
Because let me tell you, frankly, we cannot reconstruct when war is going on.
Okay. Doctor, let's listen to Paul Tasson. You react after this. Let's listen to Paul Tasson.
I cannot hear you.
Development over a period of 10 years were estimated at 2,500 billion. This is in terms of figures. Today, we have only Japan, who has stepped up the plate, initially to support us with 1.5 billion, And we are currently actively working with them for an additional 900 million, which should take us to 2.5 billion from Japan. We want to take the opportunity to thank them for believing in this and for leading the charge in terms of partner support. And we don't want to underestimate, of course, the very important and significant contribution from the national private sector, where we recorded 1.2 billion. Now, what are the other partners doing? That's a very good question. And I would think when you have the opportunity to ask them the question. Ask the other partners what they are doing. It is important to recall that almost at the beginning of the existence of this plan, we were privileged as a nation to have the visit of the Minister of Foreign Affairs of one of Cameroon's leading partners, friendly countries. I'm talking of the then Minister of Foreign Affairs of France, Mr. Jean-Yves Le Drian, who during his stay in Cameroon actually announced a contribution of 40 billion from the French Republic to the efforts of reconstruction and development of the Northwest and Southwest regions. Thereafter, we are still waiting, and we continue to wait with hope that that promise will come to maturity. We are looking up to, let me put it in very raw terms, to redeeming that pledge. We think the level of relationships, the level of relationship that exists between Cameroon and France does not give us any window to doubt that that pledge will be redeemed, that it will become mature, and the resources will be availed.
Doctor, you listen to Portas on the right on, move from where you ended.
I will not be able to hear him on my end. I think if you can tell me a little bit, or just give a summary, a recap of what he was saying.
Yes, he was talking about French that pledged 40 billion francs. I'm talking about the French government, and up to today, the money is not forthcoming. And he says he hopes and he does not want to have doubts that the French Republic is no longer behaving like one of the leading partners or friendly countries of Cameroon.
Mr. Lasha, I would tell you that it's unfortunately very, very sad that we seem to put the economic interest ahead of the human interest. And that is what is so pathetic. Because, you see, if this money keeps coming, this war will last for 50 years. Because they need more of this money.
Is the money even free? Is the money free, doctor? Is the money free? When they say pledge to give,
it boils down to that we will pay. We, the younger generation, and our children will pay. Nothing is given for free by the white man to anybody in this world. The issue is, Mr. Lasha, before we arrive at the step of talking about money, why can a simple problem that began with lawyers and teachers cannot be resolved with the strategies that some of us as conflict?
But doctor, you call it simple problem. There are people who have guns, AK-47. You see, call it a simple problem.
Before it was collected to that level, was it not a problem that could have been taken care of? And if at this level it has arrived at what it is right now, is it still late for us to take care of it? It's simple. I went online, I went to African media, and I gave a simple diagnostic of the situation and how to resolve this problem. Do you know that medically, it takes a greater number of bacteria to stamp out a smaller number of bacteria? The medication for coronavirus is coronavirus itself. The medication for bacteria is bacteria itself. It only takes for a specialist to go into the manufacture a greater bacteria to stamp out the smaller bacteria. Who are the bigger bacteria in this case? The people who are in jail. You start with them. Then you come to some of us who are at the beginning of this issue. Then the voices in the bushes will hear the voices and they will stop the gun. Sending commissions of reconstruction, sending all these ministers to go and tell lies and come back. We'll never solve this problem. It takes only those who started the problem to end the problem.
So, now, Doctor, during the meeting we had diplomatic missions, those of the United Nations, they were present, and other partners of Cameroon. Are you telling me that those people are not aware that the steps to conflict resolution is being violated?
We are escaping the resolution of the problem because I've just told you that it takes only those who started the problem.
So why are those partners doing that to Cameroon when they know fully well that Cameroon is not following steps to conflict resolution, but they are still supporting Cameroon in rebuilding the Northwest and Southwest? Because they are business people. Donald Trump told us before that the United Nations is business people. All these African Union are business people. France is a business person. They are coming to strike business. They put business agents ahead of you. You know, especially when they are dealing with Africans. They know that the black race is close to slaves, so they can do what they want. If Morocco can be killing blacks, crossing into Spain, and the world can say nothing, it means the black man has been reduced to an animal. We have to stand up. We have to stand up. Okay.
Maître, est-ce que vous pensez, docteur Nick Santos, que il s'agit donc d'un refus ou bien d'un abandon à résoudre ce conflit dans le nord-ouest et le sud-ouest? Parce que vous dites que c'est un problème simple à résoudre, il faut commencer par ceux qui ont commencé la crise. Donc, c'est indépendamment, c'est volontairement qu'ils ne partent pas rencontrer ces personnes-là pour résoudre cette crise?
Can you take it, Mr. Lasha, can you translate it a little bit?
Yes, you say it's a simple problem, and Gwladys is asking you that, are you saying that government is reluctant, they don't want to go and see those who started the problem at the basic level, like the Mancho BBC are talking about? In whose interest is the government doing that?
Let me tell Gwladys one simple problem, one simple thing. You know, I'm good at carrying out diagnosis of a problem. I'm a psychoanalyst, I'm a psychologist. And in any country in the world, psychologists are needed to resolve problems, same as historians are needed, and so as lawyers and political leaders. I have carried out my diagnosis across the board with the safety and even with the government. And although I know that one Cameroon is the way forward because unity is spread, but the issue is, if we have to resolve this problem, we have to stamp out the bandits in government who are prolonging this war because they misinform the stakeholders, especially the head of state, about this problem. Any commission of inquiry that has gone down the territory has not been able to come out with a factual account of what are the causes of this problem and proposition on how this problem will be resolved.
Are you saying that the head of state?
They are giving they only put ahead packages that will convince the head of state for money to come. The same like the 60 million or how many million that is coming from. They look at that package. They do not look at how to resolve the problem. Because let me tell you, if I was the person to advise the head of state, I would say there's no reconstruction.
So are you saying the head of state is not aware of what is actually happening in the northwest and southwest?
It's been misinformed by business people in the government.
Gwladys.
Donc, il est au courant et puis il ne résout pas le problème, ou bien c'est une partie de personnes dans ce gouvernement qui ne veulent pas que cette crise s'arrête.
The people surrounding him knows the business they are playing with this war in Norway and South. Let me tell you.
At the detriment of the local population, lives being lost every day.
Mr. Lasha, to prove you that there's an investigation I carried out and said they were looking for some Amber leaders who are carrying guns. Nyambere, for example, pointed out to them to arrest the leaders and the shotgun at Nyambere, which means they know the business which is going on. Because today, if you point the Amber, no pity or any of them to be arrested, you will be killed because the war should continue.
Livelihood. When you look at the livelihood of the population in the northwest and southwest now, are you happy, doctor? Because sometimes people have to call you. You've been sending money, assisting displaced, internally displaced persons, But the minister did say life is returning to normal. People, the plan has assisted people.
That is what pains me the most. That is what pains me the most, because let me tell you, I've not only been taking care of refugees. I've not only been taking care of prisoners by feeding them even during Christmas. But that pains me the most is about even the boys in the bushes complaining about hunger. And cannot drop their guns and come out from the bushes. And they are also paying money to feed in the bushes.
Okay, let's listen to Paul Tasson once again. Apparently the interview is not ready.
I may not be able to give you specifics in terms of what we have done to improve this, but I can demonstrate the effect or the impact of what we have been able to do on livelihoods from a different perspective. Our last study of the socio-economic situation of the two regions brings to light some very interesting statistics which you may want to know. From the perspective of the economy, we looked at the economy from production, we looked at it from public finances, we looked at it from international trade, particularly with Nigeria, our neighbor to the west. But from the angle of the economy, if you look at the way the economy of the two regions is behaving, then you have no doubt that the impact on the livelihoods of the population is almost palpable. There is no life without food. When we looked at the production of food crops in the two regions, we are very satisfied with what we see. In terms of improvement in numbers, in quantities, let me give you some very precise data of what we were able to find. The production of corn in the two regions has improved by 11% between 2020 and 2021. The production of cassava has improved by 9%. The production of rice in DOP has improved by 6%. The number of cattle has increased by 2%. And this trend is maintained across the board. We, of course, to be realistic, we made sure that we looked at everything. And we noticed that the production of tea, for example, continues to drop, but it is not as a result of the crisis.
Minister Paul Tasson speaking there, trying to give a balance sheet of what the plan has done so far. Gwladys, 18 months on talking about production of rice, increasing cattle. What has that actually got to do with
the resolution of the conflict? Like, really, what are we talking about
listen
here?
to the minister.
What are we talking about here? On parle de quoi? On parle du plan de reconstruction du Nord-Ouest et du Sud-Ouest. Il nous fait un bilan
No,
du maïs.
that one is economy. He's talking economy.
Il nous fait le bilan du maïs.
He's
Il
giving
nous
the
fait le plan
balance
du riz.
sheet.
Qu'est-ce qui nous prouve d'abord que c'est vrai?
Doctor, did you listen to Paul Tasson this time around?
Although I didn't get the volume yet quite but I can pick up from what you were saying, and it's what I've been saying all the time. When you misdiagnose a problem,
Yes.
getting a solution. For example, if you have cancer and you are being treated for malaria, instead you are being given another disease in addition to the cancer, so it will die very fast.
No, but Paul Tasson says the livelihood of the people in the Northwest, no doubt, has improved. He talked about production of rice that has increased by 6%. He talked about cattle rearing that has increased, and so many other stuff, things that he said in the report, Dr. Nick Santos. With the reports you get on the ground, do these things that he's saying confirm with reality?
What is happening on the ground, that if you want to measure what he's saying in terms of something having increased, maybe it's meaning that he's saying that situations have calmed down, the armed smoking guns have a little bit calmed down, that people are able to resume activities a little bit. Ghost towns that used to be for so many days is now 1 day. We can understand that that can cause increase in economic activity, but is the problem solved? Is the problem solved? Are all the voices in the bushes out? Have the guns been dropped? Is there peace and stability? Can people willingly leave out of the United States or leave Europe to come and invest home and be sure of their life, of their security, and the security of their investment? Are we seeing more containers being shipped into the seaport in Douala because people are at peace? When there's no peace, there's no development. Let me tell you, we have suffered. The North and Southwest region will take a very long time to be reconstructed because we are not resolving the problem at all. All these are cosmetic solutions. The real issue is, don't take a runabout cut. The people who began this problem are the ones who end this problem.
Do you think that Bala can stand in the Northwest and Southwest and talk, somebody listen to him? Or Mancho BBC, if he leaves prison today and go back to Commercial Avenue and talk, people will listen to him?
Yes, a combination of those can talk and people will listen. Dr. Nick, if I speak, people listen. They listen because they know that out of 100 things I would say, 75% is without discrimination or without bias.
Even the people carrying the guns?
I'm putting the government flag of Cameroon behind me because I studied both situations. I had put on the Ambazonian flag behind me. I studied also that situation. Then at the end of the day, I become a doctor of everybody because I don't have to deny patients. Now, I might stand to say something. I'm saying something that will help us improve us, lead to peace, lead to security, lead to development, not something that will tear all of us down.
Okay, doctor, let's now talk about your award. We are barely 5 minutes to the end of the program. You've been awarded in the United States of America talking about your work, what you have been doing in the U.S. Can you elaborate more on the award? So we start celebrating you for flying the colors of Cameroon flag higher.
Yeah, Mr. Lasha, you know, this came like a surprise to me. I never saw it coming, though there had been some little glimpse of light that was showing that there was something cooking or boiling at the tunnel. First, this is about the food award I've had in the United States, four awards, but this is the biggest. This is the biggest because this is the U.S. President Lifetime Achievement Award that will be awarded to me in the front of all diplomats, hopefully by the President of the United States. It will take place at the Downtown Convention Center in Washington, D.C. on the 30th of ends up with a gala night. And let me tell you that this is the fourth award I've had in the U.S. The first was my scholarship award during my doctorate program, which was just about 1.2 million CFA, $2,500 when I was in grade school. And I also had the California National Alliance for Mental Illness.
So what have you been doing to have all this award? You tell us more on what, because they cannot just give you a award for you not doing anything.
Basically, that's why I'm explaining to you that the first one was a scholarship award. The second one I had was for helping to treat mentally ill patients in California by the California Alliance for Mental Illness. And then there is also the Walden University Award that I had as the honorary clinical instructor for 2021, which is basically for me training students who are taking residency in my clinic, in my private clinic in West Virginia. So I grade the students, I treat them, I teach them psychotherapy and group counseling. And so I had an award last year. And then also you saw that before this award from the East Wing of the White House, I had a letter from President Joe Biden sometime February, in which he was replying to one of my messages I sent to him on some political and humanitarian issues in the U.S. But in that letter, it was stated that hopefully within the year, or by the end of the year, we shall meet sometime. I never knew that this was really an award that was coming based, and this award is principally given based on my contribution of volunteering to the U.S. in terms of helping professionally to work in the domain of mental health and leadership and humanitarian work that I'm doing around the world. My research in the challenges to assertive community treatment of schizophrenia.
You equally live in a predominantly white states where you have only white people. Everything about you is extraordinary. Doctor, have you also given up your nationality as a Cameroonian, or you are still a Cameroonian? I was about to ask you.
I'm still a Cameroonian. I didn't go for U.S. citizenship for about 16 years. I refused. I turned it down because I was looking at the bigger picture. And the bigger picture, you always know, is home, right? It's home. So, but basically, what I did was I had a different mindset when I came to this Western world. The mindset was to accumulate or amass as much knowledge as I can and bring it back to my country of origin. What I've been doing so far is I've been integrating mostly with white people because the field I'm doing is psychiatry and psychology and psychiatry, which is mental health altogether. And I think these people are far more advanced in this domain than us. Because with us, when you have a psychological problem, you'll say, go and drink 2 or 3 bottles of Expo, and your head will balance. But we don't know about emotional problems. We don't know about love issues that can lead to suicide. We don't know about about judgment of people. We don't read those things. We cannot weigh those concepts that are abstract. For example, we don't measure intelligence. Intelligence quotient. I can measure everyone's intelligence. There are skills to measure it. So somebody's grief. You can measure somebody's state of happiness, somebody's state of, you know when to connect with somebody, not to say something that will push that person to extreme. So we lost it all. We lost it. Our society has lost it all because, first of all, what is happening in Africa today is because most of our leaders and most of the people around us do not have that. They don't empathize. They don't empathize. They don't have empathy. You know, empathy is different from sympathy. Empathy is a feeling that you have towards mankind, but sympathy is when like somebody loses somebody and you sympathize. No, empathy is different.
So we don't know about. Yes, we need to work in that domain. We need to put more efforts in that domain.
Yeah, so moving closer to the white people, I've had a lot of training. I mean, like living with them. I like living in an isolated area where.
So when are you expected back home? When are you expected back home, doctor, to share your experiences with us? Try to develop your country.
Just like I never knew when this award will come. That's the same thing I cannot say when I will be back in Cameroon.
Okay, doctor, thank you. Thank you. That's it. The program has come to an end. Thank you very much, Dr. Nick Santos, for taking our time to talk to us on the line to the United States of America. Hopefully we'll be with you next week if time permits you, and we're always here to welcome you to participate and give your own of nation building. Thank you to televiewers of My Media Prime Television for watching this other edition of The Brief, which was produced for us by Christain, Tebong. We were Gwladys, Bomotonguina, and myself, Lasha. See you tomorrow. Bye-bye.